Hello, my name is Charlotte Sweeney and I work for Helen Sanderson Associates. And we've put this together to help people on NHS Change Day, so hopefully you'll find it helpful. Okay, first off, I just want to take you through the things that will be in your pack that will have been sent to you. So you can check through your pack there now to make sure you have all the things that you need. You will have a CD, and there's a number of things on that CD. There's an animate film which describes one-page profiles and personalization. That's Helen talking through what a one-page profile is and why it matters for personalization. You will have a film with somebody called Maria and Helen, who is taking Maria through 6 questions to help them help Maria develop her one-page profile. You will have 3 PowerPoint presentations. One of them is a set of examples of one-page profiles and health from staff who have done their own one-page profiles. One presentation is some change quotes for NHS Change Day, series of slides. They're really for providing some inspirational background things to look at. And also the question cards, which is the key presentation that you need for the part of the workshop where people will be developing their own one-page profiles. You will have 2 posters. One's a getting started and one's a getting them right. The getting started one's particularly useful for people to refer to through the 1-hour session, and getting one-page profiles right will come in particularly at the end when people are quality checking what they've done. You will also have in your CD the template file for the one-page profile so that you can print out as many copies as you need. In hard copies, you'll be sent the 2 posters that I talked about and a hard copy of the one-page profile A4 template, just so you can see what it looks like printed out. In addition to that, you'll have 2 lots of think cards. They're not specifically used in detail in the session, but they're a really nice resource to be able to share with people so that they can build on the work that they start in the workshop. And a set of postcards as well that you can use in whatever way you see fit. In addition to this, there is another file that you will be sent which has got 5 stories and 5 one-page profiles to go with the stories for people who use services, patients, people with health conditions, to give you some information on that. Okay, here is the running order of the glance. It's all on one slide because you can print out this presentation if you find that helpful, and then you've got it as a workshop guide to have next to you as you run the workshop. There are 5 stages to the workshop. We're going to go through them all in more detail in a minute, but essentially there's some short sections which share what a one-page profile is, share some examples of staff in health, share some examples of people who use services, and then the main bulk of the workshop is getting people to do their own using the 6 questions, and then a final follow-up quality checking bit. And then there's just a few minutes at the end just to point people on the way with some other directions, other places they can go for more information, get a little bit of feedback, that sort of thing. So very simple and straightforward, really. Okay. What I suggest you do before the workshop is make sure that you're familiar with the film where Helen develops one-page profile with Maria. It's about half an hour long, so not useful for, you won't have time in the 1-hour workshop to show the film, but it's useful for you to get an insight into how it works in real life with the 6 questions. If you haven't already, and I'm sure you have, make sure you do your own one-page profile beforehand, and any other willing volunteers you can find, have a go at practicing using the 6 questions if you get a chance to do that, just so you can get familiar with what the questions are and what order they go in, and it will just help build your own confidence at doing that. Make sure you, top tip really here, the example one-page profiles, of which there are 10 in health and 5 others, make sure you read them through fairly thoroughly, because it's much easier when you're standing in front of a group of people that you're familiar with some of the examples. So you have a few examples from the one-page profiles at your fingertips that you can just share with people to give them an idea of the sorts of things that people put in the one-page profiles. On the day before your session, you need to make sure that there's enough one-page profile blanks for everybody. You need to make sure that you have some one-page profile examples floating around the place, as many as you think you need, for people to be able to pass them round to each other, to have a look, to read sections, to get ideas from. You can print out the 10 one-page profiles for staff as examples, and the 5 one-page profiles for patients and people who use services have got a story attached to each of them that kind of gives you the background and the detail for why the one-page profile was developed, which is kind of a nice thing for people to be able to read the stories. Posters on the wall, so they're there so people can permanently refer to them as the hour goes on for inspiration. And before the workshop runs, it's quite nice that people walk into the room and they've got the NHS Change Day quotes slideshow running. It sets the scene from the very beginning and gets people relaxed and talking. Same goes with if it's at all possible, some welcoming music of your choice in the background is always a good thing to get people in the zone. Okay, the running order in detail. So the first thing you'll do, very simply, is to run the animate. It's about 5 minutes and 13 seconds, I think, and it is a nice, succinct and clear description of what a one-page profile is and all the different places that it could be and what the sections are and what they mean. So the background explanation is all done for you in this animate. Step 2 of the workshop, the next thing that you will do is share the slideshow with the 10 health examples. You might not, you've only got 5 minutes, so you might not have time to go through all 10, but it's quite nice for people to get a sense of how different they look. They come from, they're examples from different roles in different settings, people from different professional groups. Some of them are more colourful than others. Some of them have got more detail on than others. But all of them should make you get a sense that they give you a sense of individuality from each one. They're all individual, but also I would point out to people that you'll notice, although they're all very different to look at, and the content is different, they all still have the same 3 sections: what people appreciate about me, what's important to me, and what good support looks like. And that's one of the common, consistent elements of a one-page profile that you will see around. And that's important. And what really helps here is, if you can have at your fingertips, a couple of examples about where there is some good detail shown. So on the one that you've got on the screen in front of you for Maria, my son Kieran, he's 12, we spend time together each week playing and laughing. So, you know, they have some quality time together each week, and that's a really important thing. And for example, at the bottom, listening to music. She listens to music on her iPhone whenever she's driving and at home, and the sort of music that she likes, really wide-ranging, but right from Neil Diamond, and she also really likes local live music, which is more than just having an interest list saying music. And things like, I never sit still, please don't tell me that I'm doing too much or to stop, please show an interest in what I'm doing instead, or even get involved. So one of the things that Maria would rather you didn't do to support her is to try and make her stop doing what she's identify with some of the personal elements in that, and they'll start to think, oh yeah, no, that's true for me too, and yes, I would get annoyed if somebody did that to me. I need to put that on my own one-page profile. So it gets people thinking, which is a really good thing. And also say about the importance of appreciation, I think, in there, about they're all things that when you look at them you think, oh, that's a nice person, I'd like to get to know them better. So, you know, it's an important, positive first glance of somebody. Okay, step 3. So you've shown them you've told them what one-page profiles are and why they're important. You've shown them how they work for staff. Now this is a slot to kind of show them that they work for people they support and patients as well. So there's a few stories around the room. You might want to, depending on how you do for time, give people a few minutes to pass around and read some of the stories on the table. Or you might want to pick one of the 5 examples and maybe read some of one of the stories out. It's up to you really, but just to give people a couple of minutes to remind people that this isn't just about staff. This is very much about the people that they're providing a service to as well. It's really important. And the same thing applies. There's a good level of detail. They've got some things that we appreciate about them, and what good support looks like. And again, very, very individual, very, very different, depending on who you are. Okay, step 4. This is the main big bit, which is you're getting people to do their own one-page profile. The 6 questions we're using are right there in front of you. I would suggest you're going to need to be quite bossy in terms of time with people, because people want to spend quite a long time talking about some of these. Some of these questions people might need a little bit longer on, and some people can do a little bit more quickly. For example, what would you never leave home without in your bag or pockets is usually much easier and quicker to answer than what would you usually do during the weekday evenings, or what your best and worst day is. Question number 2 probably is the one that's going to take the most time. So don't panic if you need to give people a little bit longer than that one, but make sure you make the time up a little bit later on. So how are we going to take people through these 6 questions? Well, you have a slideshow that's step-by-step to help you do that. The first slide that people will see is the one that's in front of you. Just a reminder about what the sections are, the 3 sections and the photo of a one-page profile. I would ask people to work as a pair. It's quite hard for people to work on their own and answer their own questions. It's much easier if you ask each other a question. You need to explain the session that they're doing. So they're doing their own one-page profile, and they've got 6 questions to help them do that. And I would suggest that you tell them to record for each other so that they can listen carefully to each other's answers and practice their own skills in doing a one-page profile with someone. Just a little bit of extra guidance there at the bottom. Sometimes I say to people, when people say, what photos should I use? Again, people might have a clear line on what photo ought to be used, but generally people like to see a photo that they're proud of rather than one they cringe every time they look at. You can say that if they get stuck for the appreciation stuff, to go home and ask family and friends if they can things that they like and admire about the person. It's good at this point, if you haven't already earlier, really make it very clear to people that what's important to somebody is not just a list of vague preferences, it's the real fundamental stuff that really matters to people, that makes people tick. So it's not a, I like coffee, cake, cats, chickens. It is about, you know, I don't function until I've had a coffee in the morning. It needs to have 2 sugars to get me going, and it definitely should never be decaffeinated. It's a very different feel from, yeah, I like coffee. And the key 2 words in the support section are know and do, what people need to know and do. There's no point putting stuff in the support section if it doesn't actually instruct people in some way in terms of how they need to behave differently as a result of knowing what good support looks like. But as I wouldn't spend very long explaining this through. You've only at tops got a minute or so just to tell people that, to get people into pairs, to give people a blank template, to tell them they're now going to be doing their own one-page profile, and to remind them what these sections are. Okay, so if you introduce the first question to people, so the next slide on the PowerPoint, who are the most important people in your life, I would suggest that you might want to model this first question, but you won't have time to model all of them. So if you can pick a willing volunteer who with a smile on their face near the front and say, so for example, who would you say are the most important people in your life? And they might say, oh, my husband and my children, or my mother, or something like that. So they'll give you a single word answer. And so what you want to model is asking them a little bit more about that. And the best way of doing that is just say, can you tell me a little bit more about that? That would be great. Don't ask them why they're important. Don't say, so why is your husband important to you? Because it starts already to sound interrogative rather than as a conversation. To just engage them in a little conversation for about 1 minute about, for example, so tell me a little bit more about your daughter, your teenage daughter. What do you like to do with her? You know, what's special about your time with her? And then that person will hopefully say, oh, she just shares the same sense of humour for me, and we cook in the kitchen. Say, oh, that sounds interesting. So, you know, what sort of things do you like to cook then? And say, yeah, no, we share a love of food. So then you can say on the person's one-page profile, what's really important to me is my daughter, and spending time with her at least once a week, cooking together. Just a quick demonstration for that first question. Then you get people to say, right, now you get into your pairs and ask each other that question and see what you can find out from each other. Remind people that they're having a conversation, that they're not interviewing the other person. And ask them to, the questions there, it's basically fairly self-explanatory. It's in front of you on the pink writing. Does the question, what the person's telling you tell you about something that's important to the person? Does it suggest something around what good support looks like, or does it tell you about appreciation? Make sure people check back with the person they're asking the question whether they've got that right and they're not making assumptions about what they've heard, and get them to put in a good sentence or two for that person that's got good detail on it. They won't get the detail spot on first time round. It takes a little bit of practice for people. So don't panic if people aren't getting the beautifully formed, detailed answers immediately. By the time they get to question 6, they'll have more of a hang of it. But if you can make sure that people generally have enough time to at least record one thing from each question for each person and each thing, that would be good. And they've got 5 minutes for each of the 6 questions. And yep, and as people are doing it, say, remember the detail. The detail really, really matters. Okay, so you go through the same process for the next 5 questions. You get people to, you ask the group the question. You get people to make some guesses with each other. You get people to ask each other questions, and then you ask them more further questions to find a little bit more about whether it's something that's important to them, or and whether it says something about how to support someone well. Get people to check if they've got it right, and get people to add it to the one-page profile with some good detail. The only variation on this one is it's likely that the last question, which is the one around what would your friends and your family say that they appreciate or like and love about you, that's going to be recorded most likely in the appreciation section. It might say something that's important or good support, but most commonly will go in the appreciation section. Step 5, so the final step is they've scribbled down in a hopefully pretty focused but a possibly slightly busy way, and hopefully with some laughter and people getting to know each other well. They need to check that what they've done is the best that it can be and that they understand what good looks like. And this is where the poster comes in, the one-page profiles, getting them right. So I would take people through those posters, and there's 3 particular things that are key that they check. So check to see where they can, on their own one-page profile, so if they're recording their one-page profiles for each other, get them to get their own one-page profile back, have a read through and see where they need to add some more detail. Get them to change anything that's too general, and try and make it as specific as you can. Make sure that it's not one that people have written lots of things that are sort of justifying, so explanatory. So my husband's really important to me because I chose him and I married him, and he is somebody who is good to be around for X, Y, Z. So it doesn't need to be a litany about why somebody matters or something matters, but it's got to be detailed and it's got to be clear. And then on the support section, could you use it? It says basically, has it got the no and the do? So has it gotten there? If somebody else had it, would it be helpful, truly helpful for them to pick it up and get the way that they support you right? And there's some examples on there, which is helpful for people. So by then, people should have 5 minutes just to make sure that they can add some finishing touches to their one-page profile to make it better and understand what they need to go away to do to improve it further if they want to do that. Finally, there's just a few minutes to share a few other things with them. Some people will want to add more information and want to build and grow on their one-page profile. Well, they can. They can use the think card questions to do that. So you can show the group the think cards and read out some of the think card questions. The think appreciation cards we've put together because what tends to happen is people choose the same sort of things in their appreciation. So you get kind, caring, good sense of humour, nice to have around type things, and people get slightly stuck in their internal thesaurus of finding a range of descriptors to describe themselves, and sometimes seeing lots and lots of different descriptive appreciation words can kind of help people to unlock some of their creativity, which is really what the think cards are about. And then it's always good if you get in conversation with your person saying, do you think you're going to find these useful? How would you see yourself using them? Ask people for some reflections and see if they're going to be going further. They will only walk out at the end of the hour with a rough draft of their own one-page profile, and most people will want to go away and have a bit of a tinker to get the wording just right. But this is about equipping people with the confidence and the tools to be able to do that. Point people towards, there's lots of different places that people can go to download one-page profile templates, for example, inspiring stories, other one-page profiles that people can read to get an idea about how other people have worded them, and a few resources are listed below there, but make sure that people know where they can go to find out more if they want to. Okay, hopefully that's been helpful. As I say, in summary, the workshop has 5 stages. It's sharing the animate with people, telling people what it is, sharing some examples with staff, sharing some examples with people who use services, having a good half an hour to practice asking each other some questions, and practicing writing down detailed answers to those 6 questions, and then some follow-up quality checking to improve on the recording work that they've done, and then 1 hour later you're all done and dusted. So I wish you all the very best of luck with it and hope this is helpful to you. Thank you very much.